Hello there my fellow developers, and this video is going to be about using or managing state inside of your class based components and functional based components. Okay, so uh, basically many people have this confusion. Even I got some people saying that I don't understand the difference. How can I use state in functional based components and class based components? So I've made a pretty simple app here. So what I've done here is I've created a component called cCounter, which is a class based counter. As you can see, it doesn't do anything right now, so if I click this button, nothing happens. And this is a function based counter, so this is basically the f counter, and I've put a quite a fine horizontal line between them. I've styled it with app.css, so as you can see, I've just done some basic stylings for margin 0, padding 0, box sizing, border box. I've given it a font family, text align center, and a container. Let me zoom in. Okay, so container has display flex, justify, content center, so just to center these, and margin top is 1 rem. Okay, and so I'm just styling the button, so as you can see, you can just see this, and HR margin 5%, nothing else. Very basic styling. I'm importing cCounter and fCounter here and importing app.css. I've removed some files which were not necessary, and yeah, so let's take a look at these files. So let's go to cCounter, let's also open up fCounter, drag it. So let's see the class based component first. Okay, so what do we have here? It's a very simple component. First of all, we are importing React and component from React. Okay, so if you have seen the class based components, they are just ES6 class based components. Okay, so you have a class cCounter which extends the component. Okay, so this is the template basically, so it extends it, and you have a constructor from which you get access to props. Okay, and then super method, nothing else. Okay, very simple. And inside of the markup, if you take a look, if we go ahead and see the return render method, inside of the return we just have a fragment. Okay, so this is basically empty tags in which you can wrap everything. So we have an h1 class based counter, and then a div with the class of container, and then h1 h2 with the text 1, and a button with increase. Okay, and the same markup is inside of the f counter. So if I go to f counter, and it's just the same markup, and it's just a function f counter, and it's exporting it here, and it's exporting it here. Nothing, not much difference, but just the class syntax. Okay, ES6 class syntax and functional syntax. Okay, so that's about our components, and now let's see how can we manage state. Okay, let's close f counter because we will be taking a look at cCounter first. Okay, so how can we use state here? Well, first of all, you need to understand what is state. Okay, state is simply an object that contains variables with which you can just these are the variables that are stored inside of your with React. Okay, so basically they are lifelong variables. You can change them. They are not like props, because props are immutable. Okay, they cannot be changed. So how do you create state inside of your class based component? So I can go here, okay, inside of the constructor, and I can say this dot state is equal to an object literal. So what I'm doing is this dot state is defined, okay, by default inside of your class based components. So what I'm doing is I'm just changing this dot state, and I can put anything I want here. So I want this number. Okay, right now I'm just hard coding it here, but we'll change it to JavaScript expression. So I can say number, and as this is an object, I have to put a colon, and then I can say like let me zoom in. Okay, so number, and then I can set what I want. So I can say 1. Okay, for now let's say 10. Okay, and now here I can add curly braces. I don't know why it unindents it, but I can add curly braces, and then here I can say this dot state dot number. Okay, so what have I done here? So basically this dot state is an object. Okay, this refers to this class based component. Okay, this refers to this component. Okay, and state means the state from this component. I can just remove this dot. Okay, and still, okay, state is not defined. Why is it not defined? Well, because it's inside the constructor. Maybe let's save this now. At line 8, let's see. Yeah, now this works. Okay, so I can just remove this also, maybe. Oops. So state is not defined. Yeah, so it's a good practice to put this dot state. Okay, so I can just cut it and paste it inside of the constructor. I can say this dot state, because inside of a constructor you need this, you need to use this. Okay, so we have this dot state dot number. What we did is we just put a JavaScript expression or a variable inside of this h2, and now as you can see we have a 10 instead of 1 here. Okay, nothing else. So if I change it to 1, it will be 1. Okay, so now I can change the state from here. So that's how we create state inside of your class based component. Let's now create state inside of our functional components. So for your functional component, what you need to do is you need to go over here and you need to import one hook. Okay, what's called a hook, that is use state. Okay, this is basically a function that will create state for you inside of your functional component. Okay, so what you do is you just go outside of the return, okay, right here, and you can say, you can create a variable. Okay, so const and then an array destructuring. What is array destructuring? Basically, in simple terms, if you are just starting with state inside of here, what you can do is you can just make it equal to use state. Okay, it is a function, as I told, and it takes in a default value inside of it. So for example, if I set it to an empty string for now, okay, so inside of this I can initialize two variables. Mark my words, okay, two variables. The first one will be the main variable, that will be state. If I go to C counter, we have number. Okay, number is kind of a variable. Okay, so I can say number at first, I can add a comma, and then the second element inside of this one will be a function. So set number. This looks like a variable because it is const here, but take a look. Okay, we have set number. A lot of people get confused that what is this, I don't understand this. So basically number is the main variable which will hold the value, okay, which is empty string right now, and set number is a function that can change this number. Okay, so if I put a JavaScript expression here, and if I say number, okay, if I save, we don't need to put this dot state dot number because it's a global variable. Okay, if I save that, now you can see one disappeared. Okay, one disappeared because we are putting number here, and number is an empty string by default. So if I enter some other value, for example, if I say 200, if I save, now you will see 200 here. Okay, so if I say set number, okay, you won't get anything because it's just a function. Okay, that should be called. So let's set back into number. I was just putting it to differentiate it. So let's put 1 here. So what we did till now, okay, we went on to here, we created this state, we added number, and then we are outputting number here. The same thing we are doing here, but with the hook use state, and we are creating this, and we are not using set number right here. Okay, we are just using the number for now. Now we are going to create functions so that when we click these buttons, these numbers should increase. Let's go to C counter. And to create a function right here, what you need to do is just get out of these render and constructors and just create a method here. You can say method because you are creating it inside of your class. Okay, so I can say increase number. Okay, so what are we doing here? We are just creating a method. Okay, we are not using the function keyword because it's a class. Okay, and you don't have function keyword inside of it. So increase number, I can say console.log hey, okay, anything, and I can go to this button and I can add an event lister. So on click a JavaScript expression, and I have to add this dot increase number. Okay, save this, and after saving this, if you take a look, if we go to the console and right here, if I click this button, okay, not the other one but this one, let's clear the console first of all so that you can see, and if I click this button you get this hey. Okay, if I click it again it will be 2. So we can now see our function works. So I can go here. Let me tell you one thing that is very, very important. If I console.log this, what will you get here? Just imagine. Let's clear this out. Let's clear this out. Let's click this. You will get undefined. Why do we get undefined? Well, this for this function is undefined. Okay, now if you want this, this holds a value of this whole component right now, but for this function it will hold undefined. So if you want, we want this to work, okay, inside of this function. So how do we do that? Well, you need to go inside of the constructor. You can say this dot the name of the function increase number equals to, so you are just modifying it. You can say this dot increase number again, and then you have to use a method called dot bind, okay, which will basically bind anything. So you need to pass in this here. So you're just binding this so that you can use this here. So if I save this now and if I click this button, what you will see is, you will see, let's make it larger, you will see this object. Okay, it's not undefined now, so you can see the whole component C counter here. So that's what configuration you need to do here. There isn't any chance. So now we did this. What do we need is we need to increase this number. So what I can do is I have to use a method called this dot set state. This is basically a method or a function that will modify the state. So it takes in an object. Okay, so what are we doing here is we are just modifying the state object. Now I can say number. Okay, so we are number. Okay, it's an object, so I need to put colon instead of equals. So number will be number plus 1. Now this won't work if I save this. Okay, it will give us an error. As you can see, number is not defined. Why it gives that? Because we need, if we want to use this number here, we need to use something like we need to wrap it, we need to create a kind of a function. So I can go to previous state. Previous state means the state that was available before. Okay, and then I can create an arrow function, and then inside the curly braces you need to return something. Okay, you need to return that object. So return that object, let me see. Okay, I'm just confused a bit. So if you use number plus 1, so you're just adding to number. Let's see if it gives us an error. Number is not defined. Oh, index.js 1:15. Yeah, it gives us an error. So because number is not defined, I need to say previous state. Previous state dot number. Let's save that, and it gives us an error. No. Now if I click this, it increases. Okay, what we did here is we have to return an object. We have to return the state inside of, we get the previous state. Okay, we can use, if you don't want to do this, you can do the same thing. Okay, you can say number colon, and then you can say this dot state dot number plus 1. Save this, and then what you will see here is the same thing. Okay, you can just increase the number like this. Okay, it will be same, but what are you using it? You're just using this dot state dot number. So instead of this dot state, you can just create a function here with the previous state. You can name it anything. I'm just using previous state, and then you can just put parentheses and then this to return it. Okay, so basically what are you doing is you're using the parentheses or the simple brackets for return, and these curly braces to return an object. So I can now say number previous state dot number plus 1. Save that, and then when the page reloads, when the app re-renders, what you will see is this will work. Okay, so now you can see we did this. Now increase number works here. Let's make it work inside of a function based component. So let's go here. That's why I like functional based components. They are very easy. They're just like wow. Okay, now I can go here. I can create a function, and that function will be increase number again. No difference in the function name. So I can just do this, and what I can do here is I can just say set number, and then I can say number plus 1. Save, and then what we need to say on click equals, and I have to say increase. I don't need to say this dot increase number, if you can see this. Okay, increase number. So now so if I click this button now, you'll see it does the same thing but with less code. Okay, what set number does is, I told you before, it just changes this number. Okay, we had set state here, so set state changes the whole, you have access to whole state here, but you can get access to individual states with the set number. Okay, now a little tweak we can do here is you can just make it an arrow function. So I can say const increase number. Oops, I can say const increase number, and then I can just say make it equal to an arrow function, and then I can say set number plus 1. Okay, save it, and then if I make it zoom out, so it will be like this. Okay, looks pretty good, and still it will work. So we have made our counter in class based components and function based component. I like to use functional based components, so I'm going to give it 30 points, and class based components are also very good, so I'm going to give it 20 points. So anything, but yeah, functional based components are recommended by React nowadays, and that's why I like to use it. So that's it for this video, guys. Hope you like it. Share it with others, share it with your friends who are just confused. I was also confused, so I thought of making this video to explain how can you differentiate the use of state inside of in the class based components and functional based components. So if you like my video, like it, share it with others. Finally, guys, thanks for watching.